Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Now, as an FYI, this trailer will be going throughout the whole video. Some of you may not like that, so if you don't, you can just go ahead and listen to the audio. I like it because it fits with the tone of everything. Because now, we may also get out of focus, but that doesn't matter. You can look at my other videos to see my attractive face. All that matters is what we're talking about. So if we go in and out of focus, well, that's why. It doesn't matter. So, I'm joined by a newcomer to the channel as far as being in videos. This is Nate. He's been my friend in real life
forever.
Since we were freshmen in high school. So I'd probably say 5 years at this point.
Around there.
We've done a lot of stuff together. We've seen a lot of good concerts together.
Hell yeah.
Went to the Carnivores tour together. Saw Park AFI. 30 Seconds to Mars. We've seen Skillet. We've seen 3 Days Grace. We've done a lot of that. So he's a good guy. So, and we've also gone to a few haunted houses together in the past.
A few, yeah.
We've only done Frightworld, but still.
Whatever.
It's still something. And so, because of the frequency of that, we decided to, I'm a haunted house connoisseur. I love that stuff.
He really is.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But as any of you who watch the Let's Plays know, horror stuff doesn't scare me. Yeah. Let's see. Is it focused? Unfocused? Nah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
I can
It's
fix
cool.
Yeah, it does.
Mysterious.
Yes.
Yeah.
But anyways, so you guys know I love the horror stuff, but you also know that doesn't scare me or anything. I don't know about this guy. He doesn't get scared.
Yeah. Depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I do love the haunted houses just the same because I like the immersiveness of it, the fact that the atmosphere gets you, drags you in, and puts you in a certain scenario that they choose for you to be in, and it doesn't scare me, but it impresses me because I like to see the visuals, like to experience everything, and just get the whole package of it all basically. And so this will be my first of 3 reviews. Nate may be with me on a second one, depends.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe. So the first one, as you read in the title down there, as always, is I hope you people will read the title, because if you don't, well, I don't know why you came. Tonight, a few minutes ago, we came back from the first of 3 haunted houses in Western New York that we typically make rounds to. The 3 of them are Frightworld, House of Horrors and Haunted Catacombs, and Final Fear. I've never been to Final Fear, but I've been to the Catacombs, as we will call that from now on, instead of House of Horrors and Haunted Catacombs. Everyone just calls it the Catacombs. And I've been to Frightworld several times as well, but never Final Fear, so hopefully there'll be a review of that coming up this year. He may join me on the Catacombs video.
Yeah, I want to go to that.
Yeah, it's possible. Awesome. It's got good stuff, but we're going to be discussing Frightworld tonight. And this is coming from people, especially myself, who are, we're into horror, but horror doesn't scare us. So you hear all the time, like, oh, this was the scariest thing, this, that. And it ends up being a lot of unnecessary, unmitigated hype. So
your first time, it should be scary.
Yeah, first
time if you've never been.
Because you have no idea what to expect at all.
Yeah.
But we've done it enough to the point where we know what to expect, and we go for just to experience everything. So this is Frightworld for 2014, and of course something that I find funny. Every one of these haunted houses, they claim to be Western New York's largest and scariest. Yeah, they can't all be that, but it's a good ad tagline, but whatever. So we just went 2014 season to start everything off, and what we're just gonna do, we're gonna go house by house with you guys describing our experiences, what it was like, what we liked, what we didn't like, and then what our favorites were. So let's see. I still have my ticket on me here. Let's see if I can.
I'll have to.
Yeah, we got to keep it. Let's see here. I got mine. Let's see here. Let's see. Is this the side of the houses? Yeah.
Yes.
You guys probably won't be able to see it really well.
No.
But this is the ticket here. Yeah, it looks black. Forget that.
Black.
Just like
nope.
Demetrius Mac.
There's no. I had a feeling you were going to say something about that in this video, and I told myself that when you said that, I was going to just get up and walk away and walk home. But you know what? I'm going to stick this out. Okay. Rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Fuck that.
You're an
Anyway.
You're an asshole.
Anyways.
Anyway.
But anyways,
clear lose all your subscribers moment right there. Let's
I've done enough to lose subscribers.
Okay.
If they're not gone by now, if they're not gone by watching this horribly out of focus video,
okay, yeah, I'll give you that one. All right.
Yeah, but the audio is just what matters. The first one we did was phobias. Now the concept of phobias, of course, they have to spell it with a fucking Z because that's so fucking cool. You know, sort of like Taken, how it's TAK3N. Just gotta be stylized and be able to remember you. It's like take 3 in. It's phobia Z. Phobias. It's stupid.
It's phobias.
But so the concept of phobias is what it sounds like. It's meant to sort of be a more visually oriented house where, you know, the scares are meant to be more of an immersive visual thing. It's less about the actors popping out to scare you.
Yeah, they'd probably have the least experienced actors in that one probably. That's probably a starter one for the actors.
Yeah, and you know, like the Asylum being the best. Because that's where you really got to ratchet up your abilities.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So in this one, it was the first one we did, least scary, but what I liked about it was that it felt pretty immersive. You know, they did a really good job with it. You know, I mean, they tend to change up the layout every year. There are similar rooms. It was kind of short.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was a lot longer. I thought they added a little bit more. I mean, it's been a while since I've been, but still, I felt like they kind of...
one feature that they had in previous years that they got rid of this year that kind of bummed me out was the laser hallway. The basically probably what I think is the fear of ghosts. Basically, it was like a long, narrow corridor, and there was like a guy all dressed in black, like Demetrius Mack, like a Dementor or something. And he was standing at the end of the hallway, and there's like this green laser behind him pointing out, illuminating the hallway all in green. And there's fog and stuff, and he's like a ghost or something. You walk towards him because, you know, the only way... You're thinking, how the hell am I going to get through this hallway? This guy's blocking me. And you start walking, he runs towards you, you're freaking out, and he just darts into the wall.
Yeah.
Now, as you learn there, it's like, you know, the wall is coated in sort of like a fabric, and he's able to, like, duck through an opening in it.
Yeah,
But the first time you see it, because the fabric is reflective and reflects the fog and smoke, it looks like he just goes...
You just spent like 5 minutes just touching the wall. Like, how the hell...
Yeah, he just goes straight through the wall. It's so cool. And as you keep walking, then, you know, the hands come out of the ceiling from the sky or the wall. It was...
That's pretty cool.
They didn't have that, which really... that bothered me, because, man, the first time I saw that, I was like, yo, that is one of the coolest effects I've ever seen. It was practical, it was organic, and it was cool.
Yeah.
But this year they didn't have that. Did you have any standout moments in that house that you thought was good?
The new, what was it? You walked into the room, it was kind of like checkers on the wall, on the floor, and strobe lights, and, I mean, it wasn't the coolest thing in the world, but I just, you know, that moment where you feel like, and there were a bunch of, like, figures all over the place, sort of like mannequin things, and you know, you weren't sure which ones are real and which ones are fake,
of course.
There was just that one point where you were like, they could all be real, and they could all just jump out at you in one minute. I thought that was cool. That was my favorite.
Yeah, they've had that one. That one's evolved a little bit. 2 years ago, they did have it was one big room that was checkered like that. It felt like it was like a big old cube, and there was one guy in there that was like, you know, in the black robe and stuff, but he was walking around just sort of... Yeah. And the whole idea of the statues, that was actually 2 years ago. That came in at the end of the Asylum, actually. That was the last room of the Asylum, was when it was like you had to walk between them. There was like, you know, 6 of them, you know, each side, and you had to walk in between them like that, and you knew one of them was real. You knew it. But they probably figured that didn't fit with the Asylum, so they put that in Phobias. It's really neat because there is a real one, and there's also an actor in there who's, you know, behind one of the doors, and bam, you know, throws himself out right before you go. That was neat. I did always enjoy that one. You know, I've always found the parts with the animatrons were stupid.
I never liked that. They gotta... Wait a minute, I'm thinking of a different house, but yeah, all the animatronics, the snakes and
like
shit.
Like the snakes, the fucking snakes and the spiders.
They didn't have any spiders, though.
No, I know, not this year.
Yeah.
You know, or like the fear of height thing. You know, they do that every year. You know, you're walking along, you see, that looks like a fire drop, and then the wall goes in. And
that illusion is instantly killed once you step on it and realize, there's glass, I'm not gonna fall.
Yeah, I mean, and the illusion is cool enough, but, you know, it's not... they could do more with it.
But... I liked that one... I think it was the first room, and like I said, like I was telling him before, I thought that was the fear of spiders myself. Was this one room where you kind of walked in? It was completely dark. You heard these kind of like laughs in the background, and there's kind of like these furry things kind of coming down from the ceiling. They're kind of playing with their ankles down there, and I thought that kind of felt like the fear of spiders to me. Because,
it could have been. I didn't know what it was. I do like that Phobias maximizes on the concept of fear of the dark. There's a lot of like pitch black sections in there where you gotta feel your way through, and like the actors are banging on the walls from the outside to really immerse you in it. It's really neat. Keep talking. I'm gonna go fix the focus.
Oh, yes, I am the center of attention. That is I can't even see myself. Come on.
You're fine.
All right. What do I look like? I look amazing. It's as always. Hello. It's not Goth Tatsumaki anymore, right? It's Kenshin Mizuhara. Kenshin Mizuhara. Okay. Clearly not copyrighted at all. Is it copyrighted? Have you ever gotten anyone asking you, hey, why the hell are you using the name of our anime as your YouTube channel?
No.
You ever gotten that? Okay.
I've never gotten that.
Okay.
Focusing is fixed. It's now set to manual, so now we're all right.
All right, cool. Oh wow, yes, you can see me.
So, well, that was useless interlude. But yeah, the fear of the dark is really capitalized on in that section, and I think it's done really well. But the animatrons, they're stupid. It's like, come on. Everyone knows. But I did like the snake room did have a depth to it. If you looked over the railing, there looked like there was a snake pit below. So I thought that was really neat. I do like to look around at all these details.
Yeah.
Because that's where the good stuff comes in. And let's see, anything else in the house that you really liked, or?
I think it's worth mentioning they got rid of the spark.
There used to be like fear of electricity. I don't know. There was this guy who was always going to be like in this caged fence with like he would have a bat, and there would be like wires running all along, and he would.
It seemed like a fun job.
Yeah,
fun to do.
Bang on the fences and stuff, and send sparks flying everywhere. It was really cool. He was typically one of the last things. They also got rid of the car as well, and they put that in Condemned.
I can't remember the car.
Yeah, there was a guy who would pop out of the trunk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
They put that in Condemned in the end.
Ooh.
For some reason. That was the popcorn.
Oh, the popcorn.
Yeah.
We'll get to the popcorn later.
Yeah, we'll get to the popcorn. But, and as ever, always the thing that ends the house is the part where you're born. When you
born.
When you go through the claustrophobia
of
section. The claustrophobia part is twofold this time.
Yes.
You go through it first time where it's just like up to your boobs. Where it's basically like two like inflatable thingies. You work your way through. There was like a laser coming at you. That was cool. But then you go through this whole full body like claustrophobia thing. You're fighting your way through. It's just work your way through, and then you just come out the other end of the vagina, and you end up getting born.
There you go. Reborn.
It's the pussy lips. But then
makes you reborn.
So to me, I always thought Phobias was interesting.
Yeah,
but not scary. It's original, I guess.
It's the first one you go to when you've never been there before. You just
just to get a start on it.
Yep.
Yeah, people never. No one ever says Phobias is the scariest one, but I still find it interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely worth going to.
Yeah, it's been there for a long time, and then after that we went to Condemned. Now, for people who've been to Frightworld before and know what their deal was, you may remember. Oh yeah. You may remember Wicked Woods. Now, he never liked Wicked Woods.
I did, and then I just...
Yeah, he'll tell you in a second. The idea of Wicked Woods, if you don't know, is it was all meant to sort of set you in some like southern... What the hell?
I don't even know.
It was meant to set you in some southern back bayou swampland, woodsy kind of thing. They really worked on. Your mother texted you.
Your mother did text me.
Your mother. They really worked on trying to. They brought in tons and tons of dirt. They had like a waterfall in there. Trees, leaves. They really worked to make it feel like you were outside in some wood section full of just crazy motherfucking people.
It took a while though.
It took a while.
At first, I thought it was just. Literally, at first, I thought it was just Wicked Woods with a new name because it had the same bridge, the same cabin.
And that's the thing. Yeah. That was what Condemned. That's what Wicked Woods was. You go into a cabin and stuff. And then last year they said, "Hey, we got a new house. It's called Condemned." Yeah. And then we found out that Condemned is just Wicked Woods 2.0. And now this kid didn't...
It's better.
Sort of. This kid here never liked Wicked Woods. Care to tell them why?
Oh, yeah, because I'm 6'5" and freaking giants. So of course I saw over the wall, and I could see into like the foyer where everything else was happening. So I completely killed the illusion. Yeah. On top of that, I was like in front of like a bajillion people who were like yelling at everything. So that just ruins Wicked Woods forever.
Wicked Woods
couldn't anymore.
Did have a good thing for me was that
I mean,
when we went together a few years ago, when we got separated, there's like that long pitch black hallway you work your way through, and then like the light goes out, and then you find yourself in the woods. I tried to scare him by like falling behind and getting him, but he went through it because he already triggered the mechanism for the light to go out at the end of the hallway and illuminate the woods. And so I didn't know where I was going. I thought I was all like, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck? I was freaking the fuck out because I was in pitch black darkness. I didn't know which direction I was going. But that was Wicked Woods. This is Condemned. So it's basically the same idea, but they got rid of the waterfall, which is kind of sad because I liked that. But it's the idea, southern back bayou, whatever. In this cabin where these motherfucking crazy families, wearing animal masks, go and haul people away and kill them. That's just the way they do it.
Yep.
There's like a mini maze section stuff in there. When you actually go through the house, you see shit. And I think as far as creating the environment, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Because it did really immerse you in it.
I actually felt like I was there.
It was neat. There was one moment in particular that I felt was really stand out in the immersion. Was you're wondering at one point, because you can see like these glass panes looking out into something. You're like, are we going the right way? You don't see any actors or anything. That is one thing, though. I didn't think the house had enough actors. The environment was nice and all, but the environment's one thing to be immersed in, but the actors also help sell everything, and there weren't really enough.
There weren't any. There were barely any. There was more in Phobias.
Yeah.
There weren't really that many in Phobias either.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But the one section that did quite impress me was when you're getting kind of lost. You're like, are we going the right way? You start to really wonder that. And then there was like a ridiculous fuck ton of fog and smoke coming in. And, and it really, you had the swamp plants coming up. You were on, like, a wooden boardwalk, and you hear the sounds of, the swamp animals, the crickets, and everything else. And, you couldn't even see a few feet in front of your face. It was dark, foggy, and I thought it was neat because it was like you felt like you were really there. They did a good job of that. It was one section, it was one walk down and one back up area. I really liked that a lot. And what we were talking about, there were two things that I sort of thought were kind of silly in that. The first was what I call the popcorn. It was the car that they lifted from being in Phobias, which had some dude in it. I don't fucking know.
I don't know,
and they put it into Condemned. And the idea was you'd walk by and the car would start sparking and everything. And, too spooky for me.
You could see it, like, from the line, too.
Yeah, that was the thing. You could see it from the line and hear it. So, if you fell for it, well, it's your own fault. And that's the other thing. There was a section when you're working your way through the first area of the woods of Condemned that, there's just a little gate there, and you can see right out clearly. They didn't even try. It's like, a cemetery gate, wrought iron, where you can just look out and be like, oh, hey, there's the people waiting in line. It's not like, oh, you're too tall, you saw it. No, it was clearly like, hey, it's right there.
We want you all to see.
Yeah, it was you
kill the illusion for everybody.
Yeah, you could see into the attraction, and it was kind of really stupid. And some people thought, hey, I'm going to stand out here in the line and scare the people inside.
Yeah, there are a lot of people like that.
Idiotic. But,
didn't that house have the werewolf animatronics too, where you like walked into that room and it was just that like werewolf animatronic?
That had two or three of them. Originally, one of them was supposed to be in Phobias, but then they put all the animatrons into Condemned.
Okay.
There was like a werewolf, some like giant beast
thing,
and this is like shit. It's got like this canned sound effect. And the thing doesn't even animate cool. It's like, it's stupid. I never like the animatrons. They're so obvious. If you're gonna use them, have them like pop out or something. Don't have them be there. Be like, oh, that animatron's gonna activate. You can clearly see. It's not like you gotta look for it because it's a big thing.
Okay, for the record, though, we may not be talking about. We may not be talking about Condemned, but still, there were a lot more pop out. Like. Since I've been there anyway, there are a lot more things that popped out at you than in past years. Like, I don't know, I can't remember what house it was. Maybe it was a different house, but I just remember there's more things that popped out at you.
Yeah, there were.
Maybe I'm going crazy, but I don't know. I felt like.
But what I liked, and something like Condemned really did show the fact that you really couldn't hear people waiting outside. You couldn't hear the loud noise of the foyer. you could hear people screaming in the attraction, which was okay, because, but you couldn't hear out, and it was really, really neat, because it really puts you in it. Only problem is, when people behind you are too fast, and the people in front of you are too slow.
Yes.
And then you end up, not triggering the illusion, the monsters at the right time, and it ends up kind of sucking. But it was alright, I mean, again, none of these had a standout moment, except for one for me. We'll get to that. After Condemned, we did Grindhouse. Now, Grindhouse used to be called House of the Dead.
House of the Dead.
And it's like Frightworld's baby. It's been around forever. And it's, by far the most, one of the most detailed.
It's the most detailed one. It hasn't been around forever, but
it's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's by far one of the most detailed, aside from the Asylum.
It's detailed. They really go all out.
Yeah, the concept of that one is sort of like, again, cabin in the woods, God knows where the fuck it is, and, that some serial killers or some such live there, and they torture and kill people.
It felt more like your kind of classic haunted house kind of thing.
Yeah, that was sort of the feel. Yeah. It was more of a classic...
More of a walk into the huge manor, you just walk into the huge door, I don't know, that's just how...
Yeah, you walk in a big door, but the thing is, what I liked about it seemed that there was more to it than just being like some gore haunted house, because, as you progress through it, things start to get weirder and weirder. The first room, okay, things looked pretty normal, except one thing that I always thought was interesting, there was always, like, newspapers, nailed into the wall. I always just thought that was an interesting effect. And, when you're in there, you can sort of hear an ambient sound effect, just sort of feeling like you're in a room or something, in a house.
Someone's screaming off in the distance.
Yeah, it's well lit, you're working way through there. Things are normal enough for the most part at the beginning. And then you start to notice, shit like the, people cut up, limbs, bodies, guts. You start to see all this, like, gory torture shit everywhere. And, you start, you have the actors in there, it's supposed to be, like, psychotic, crazy motherfuckers. Because, again, it's meant to be, like, some big cabin in the woods. It's the outside has, like, multicolored lights on. It's just, like, some hillbilly thing. But it's meant to basically be, like, you're inside of a house. Condemned is, like, outside and then a little bit inside of a house. This is completely inside. And the overarching concept of it, after you work your way through a little bit, it's a massive, long hallway that you sort of crisscross as it's blocked in by props. And you don't, like, go one room, then over, one room, then over. They do move you around a little bit as you pass through a room, so, you don't see the hallway as often.
That's
and
true.
They do use mirrors to disorient you. Now, that was my first house I ever did when I started doing haunted houses a few years ago. One thing that I did like, it was 2 years ago, that it was one of my favorite, it was another standout moment for me. But they haven't had it since, but I was just very impressed by it. Again, it wasn't even something scary. It was this long hallway, and it had like 3 windows along it.
Yeah.
And, the curtains were blowing in the wind and stuff. And you could,
I don't remember that. It sounds cool the way you described it.
The curtains were being blown up by the wind, and they had rain coming in, and strobe lightning effects and thunder, and it was all whirlwinding around and stuff, and it really felt like you were in some hallway in the midst of a thunderstorm outside. It was just, there was nothing scary about it, but the effect of it really, really impressed me. I liked that quite a bit. But that hasn't been there for the past few years. But they did try and do the windows illusion with the curtains and the breeze. But the interesting part is, as you progress more through the house, it's almost as if, the more insanity lies deeper within the house. Because after a while, things stop looking normal-ish. The rooms start to get really fucked up looking, things stop making sense. There's a fucking chair on the ceiling, stuff hanging down. It looks like some whirling dervish portal from hell just tore through everything and made reality flip in on itself. It was really neat, though. I've always liked the concept that did that. The first time I went, they didn't do that, but second time, 2-3 years ago, they did. And it sort of devolves more and more to the point where it's just unrecognizable weirdness. And it's really neat. I do like that. One room that I've always liked that they had was the coat room, where you go in there and it's pitch black, and there's coats hanging from the ceiling, and you gotta find your way through them out of the room.
Yeah.
And sometimes there is sometimes there isn't an actor in there. So, you know, and it's pitch black, so you don't know. It's scary. It's cool. It creates a really good illusion. Another room I liked in there that's always been there is the one where with the photos and the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always been in there.
The
red lights. It's like a black room basically. I've always liked that because, you know, it's just a long narrow room, and you're flanked on either side by, you know, hanging photos and insane etchings on the wall, and, like, you know, pictures of, like, murders and stuff, and, you know, with, you know, red bulbs going in and out, and it's just really neat. It's fairly bright in there in most of the house, but it's all about what you see visually. It's fantastic. They really put a lot of work into that. Not scary, keep in mind, for someone like us, but visually very good. And there was also for me a very organic moment there when we were in the last room, you know, and in all these rooms it gets gradually more and more deranged and fucked up. You see people killed in all these ridiculous ways. That's why it's called Grindhouse. People play where people fucking get killed in crazy horror ways, you know, chopped up in every which way. The final room, we were going in there, you know, dead bodies everywhere, and I look around and I'm just like, hey, I smell gas. and when I said that, you know what? The chainsaw guy who is waiting behind one of the doors, he just kicks it down and starts revving it up.
Right as he says it.
Yeah, I'm just like, I smell gas. It was a really organic, authentic moment, you know, and I really liked that because, you know, it just, again, didn't scare me, but I was impressed by it because it worked. I felt like I was inside of a movie or something by that regard. And, of course, you know, then you go in the room where there's, like, blood dripping on the walls that's painted on, but I liked that. Nate, how do you feel about it?
Grindhouse, yeah. I mean, I love the attention to detail, you know. You go in through there and just, you know, you have to just stop and double take and just, you know, admire how much work they really put into that house.
It is really nice.
It is. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, they do a good job with that. Then after that, we did, it was a new house last year.
New house.
Yeah, just like Condemned was Wicked Woods 2.0. The one we did after that was basically the Asylum, like 3.0.
Erie State Asylum.
Yeah, it used to be Raven Hill Asylum, but last year they were pushing it as a completely brand new house as Erie State Asylum instead of Raven Hill. It's the same thing, but the Asylum.
Took away the elevator.
Yeah, they did that last year too.
What wasn't there last year?
They also got rid of the elevator too.
Yeah, they got rid of the elevator.
In previous years, the Asylum was really neat. Now, the Asylum, point of notice, there are two things: is that it's also also as detailed as Grindhouse.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So they really go all out again to put you in that setting. Really neat. And then everything in there, you know, like of the medical equipment, like in the morgue, the gurneys, the chairs. The straps, everything that you see in there is all real.
It's all real. That's the best part for me, personally.
Yeah, it is really neat. So when you go in the morgue, you're like, dude, this is where people were dead. Yeah, it really adds an authenticity to the haunt. And in previous years, they did this really neat illusion where, you know, you'd walk in, and a patient, one of the guys in there, he would take you into an elevator. And, you know, the door would close and the thing would start shaking around and shit, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then you come out and you're in a completely different area. You're at the end of a long hallway. But basically all it was doing was just moving a wall over a little bit and then putting you out to the next part of the haunt. It was an illusion, but it was really neat.
Yeah,
definitely really cool. It made the house, it put something interesting into the house. But they've gotten rid of that, and the second time I did kind of get ruined for me when, you know, they didn't move the wall or the elevator enough, and I saw out into the foyer of the asylum. I did. I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't looking for it. But I saw it, and I was like, oh man. But I knew that's what was going on anyways. But it did kill it in the way that Wicked Woods happened for you. But I still admired the effect of it. It was really neat.
Yeah. That's gone.
Yeah. So then, you know, you walk through some hallways, you see security tapes and stuff, really neat. And then once again, you have the crisscrossing hallway style that we see in Grindhouse. And the Asylum makes heavy use of strobes and a little bit of gore, but, you know, it's all about the actors in the Asylum are like the top of the troop. You know, they're the ones who can act completely batshit nuts and, you know, feel like they're in their own world and work with the guests, work with the props, and create a very personal, immersive experience. It's very detailed. It's a little bit disorienting at times because they're all about they want you to sort of be able to touch some stuff, like open a door or pass through a thing where you have the plastic overhang. I want you to actually open that to make you just feel more into it. And it's neat because sometimes you'll be in the middle of doing that, and a monster will do it for you. So it really adds that. I've always liked the strobes and stuff and the sort of disorientation and the theme of it. But, again, as far as scary goes, people say it's always the best one. I feel like with a thing like the Asylum, it didn't have enough actors again. Grindhouse, there weren't very many in Grindhouse.
I think they just cut back on actors just in general. Because I think in the past one of the things is just like there's too many and you start to expect people jumping out at you.
It's true, but also that's what creates the terror. Not for me, but no. There's the off chance I get scared by an actor when, because what makes a haunted house work is twofold. It's the fear you feel when you do see the actor when they pop out and startle you.
Yeah.
But what really works is the psychological fear when you know that at some point it's going to happen, but you don't know when. And when it does, you're going to shit your pants. And I don't know. I feel like, when you know it's happening, but you don't see it, when you're someone like me who doesn't get scared by that stuff, it sort of becomes disappointing in a way. Because for me, the only way that I get scared in these houses anymore is when an actor takes me by complete and utter surprise. It really has to be. One thing, though, that I did find funny is in Phobias, before we did the acrophobia one with the height, there was some guy beneath the stairs who was dusting his ankles with a little duster. It was like, he was like coming out of a slit, just going. I just thought it was funny. It was a cool moment for me. But for someone who doesn't get scared by the actors or anything like that, I rely on a good moment with an actor to actually scare me. When there's not really much there, there's not much an opportunity to get to me. You gotta find a balance between a lot of actors and very little. And to me, I felt like they erred too much on the not as many actors side. In pretty much all of them, in Phobias, Condemned, Grindhouse, Asylum, and Insanity, it wasn't enough. But the visuals, once again, all the houses, especially Insanity and Grindhouse, are a real feast for the eyes.
Of course.
It's beautiful. You gotta admire the environment they create, how it looks and how it feels, and how you're transported into that setting for the 10 minutes or so it takes you to go through the house. It's really nice because you naturally do tone out everything else. You tone out the fact that you're in some old store or wherever the hell that this place is going on, and you put yourself in that environment. The actors help do that. The sounds, the sights, the smells. It really works to do that. And whereas I may not find these things scary, the reason I keep going is because of the immersion, because it's so damn neat. It's really cool when it takes you elsewhere with the Khajiits. Instead where you're just when you don't really go anywhere else. What do you have to say about the Asylum?
Asylum's my favorite personally, and I know he says that it's everyone's favorite, and I think it's everyone's favorite for a reason.
It is neat. It is
my favorite part personally. Is just everything. It feels real. It does.
I
know the one thing I like better about the Asylum that I don't like about Grindhouse was I love Grindhouse and I love the attention they put to detail, but I felt like as I was walking into each room. You're probably going to disagree with this, but I felt like as I walked into each room, I sort of got the impression it felt the same. I don't know if that really makes sense. It kind of started to feel the same, where with the Asylum, you kind of felt like you were walking through. You really felt like you were walking through. I don't know how to describe it. Yeah.
Grindhouse, I do like the concept, but I do totally see where you're coming from because there's only so many ways you can show someone dismembered and maimed and killed with torture instruments.
There's arms in this room.
Yeah, there's one or two rooms, like near the beginning and end, where I felt it was pretty identical almost.
Yeah.
So that was sort of...
The Asylum doesn't do that. The Asylum, different types of... the one room where it has like I don't know what the hell is that thing, where they hook you up to make sure you're still... have a pulse or whatever. I don't know what the hell is that.
The EKG.
The EKG, yeah. The one room with the EKG. For some reason, that kind of creeped me out. Just looking at the EKG and the beep and just that beeping as we were walking through. Yeah. That really kind of set me off. I don't know. That was cool. I liked that. Yeah.
There was one scare that I didn't get to experience, but I saw. It was happened to some people who were behind us. That went really fast. When you come into the Asylum proper, you see some guy sitting on the stack of gurneys. He's just sitting there. They're not trying to hide him. You know, he's just sitting there swinging his legs, whatever, you know, all fucked up looking. And, you know, and then you see him again at some point when you've made your way through the hallway and you're coming back around. You know, he's sitting there, he's looking at you. And then, this happened to the group behind us, and I watched it happen. In there, it's you know, bright light, you can see. But then the lights went out, and this guy went batshit on these people behind. Yeah.
I was thinking, that's what I was, I didn't know that. I thought he just sat there.
No,
because I didn't get to experience.
Because the lights went out. I was looking behind because I saw my periphery. I saw that happen. The lights went out, and this guy fucking went nuts on these people who were behind us.
I was waiting for him to. I'm like, he can't. Yeah,
no.
There.
So I did like that they did that. So it's sort of like the doll in Poltergeist, where you know that fucking clown's gonna do something, but you don't know when. And when it does, you're like, I fucking knew it, but it still scares you regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did like that, even though I didn't get to experience it. I saw it, and I was like, hey, that's good. Anything else about the asylum you liked?
No, that's about it. It's great.
Yeah, it is cool. Visually, it is nice. I just wish it was longer. I don't know. I wish all the haunts were longer.
Yeah.
Like in Condemned, we didn't know where we were going half the time. We're like, are we like behind the haunt or something? Because we're seeing the big walls and stuff. I'm like, did we like get in the employees area or something?
Warehouse, like
where here's Kmart. And then there was the final house.
The final house.
The new one for 2014, one that like they haven't had in 9 years. Everyone, including him, had been campaigning to get Carnival 3D.
Carnival. Bring Carnival back. Seriously.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to experience it. I want Carnival.
I want Carnival.
You know, it sounds like what it sounds like is what it is. You know, that was one of their big houses, along with House of the Dead. It's a shame that's not there, but this one was actually new, brand new. They got rid of Death Trap. Thank God. I never liked Death Trap. It was a cool idea that you're, underground in the crypts of the dead.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, you got to go underneath the inflatable thing. You're underneath there, and you're all underground. It's cool, but it's
I don't like it.
Yeah. This one, me and Nate are very...
we're split on this one.
We're split on this one.
We are very split on
now,
this one.
allow me to explain my rationale.
Okay.
Now, I was expecting... Insanity was not what I expected.
Not me neither.
But it was... I still found it to be very, very enjoyable. You guys probably won't agree with me here, and he doesn't. Well, the idea is, Insanity is basically one really, really, really big room that is just a maze of fences. Floor-to-ceiling fence maze. And you gotta find your way through. But it's light in there, it's bright. Because it's lit with, it's filled with fog out the ass.
Yeah.
And there's, multicolored strobes going crazy, and when they're not, it's pitch black. And so you got all the fog, all the strobes, all the colors, all the lights. So you're getting sensory overload from the fog. You're starting to dilute your vision. The strobes reflecting in and out of the fog starts to, flood your eyes. And, you're in this maze of fences. You can see through other parts, but you're like, how the fuck do I get here? Because there's no clear way through. And to top it all off, you have this techno remix of the Saw theme playing. Now, at first, I did think that was kind of silly. Because you go through there and you go through a room that, looks like it's got the stereo equipment in there. And I'm like, what the hell, am I going on a rave? So, we're going there.
Yeah, you were just kind of like...
So it was kind of weird. But once you get to the maze, I think it's all about... the mindset you take in there. A maze could be anything from just being, some maze to being something really immersive. And what I did, I figured, when I'm going through this maze, I'm going to let impulse guide me. I'm not going to logically say, well, if we go through here, I just gave myself to the disorienting nature of it. And so, I got separated from him a few times, actually, intentionally.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, because I knew that would create a better experience for me. So, and the techno remix actually really worked in regards to the colored strobes and the fog and stuff. And so I purposely got myself really turned around and trying to figure out where I'm going. If you walk fast through it and end up hitting dead end after dead end after dead end, and the colors start all blurring in your vision and the fog, with this really pounding, techno remix of the Saw theme going on.
Yeah.
It really, really starts to disorient you and throw you off if you let it. If you keep your head about you, it ends up probably being pretty boring. But me, I chose, in this case, to let it disorient me, throw me off, and I tried to lose my mind a little bit. And by purposely, walking faster, everything, getting turned around, staring straight at strobes and stuff to really fuck up my vision and whatnot, and really throw myself for a loop. And just completely disorient and go into a state of delirium. And it worked really, really well. It was a very psychological experience for me. There were actors within the maze, but not many.
Like 2 or 3.
And, you know, award to the actor at the very end who actually made
him jump. I was like, I've never seen that before.
At the end, you know, I was like, hey, award. I wasn't scared, but I was startled. Because at this point, it was very near the end of the maze. I had purposely let my conscious, logical mind be torn down by this onslaught of fog, strobe, insanity, delirium, by not knowing where the fuck you're going and wandering about in either pitch black darkness or, you know, strobing reflective fog, running into dead end after dead end and hearing nothing but screams and techno. So at this point I was grabbing all the fence, I'm like, where is that? And then this motherfucker just jumps up on the fence.
I saw it happening too.
He jumps up and was hanging on it. On the other side of the fence I had a hand on. And that actually made me jump, and I was so glad that happened. You know, because if I jump at least once, I consider it worth my time.
Okay, I'll give you that.
And so I was in the state of utter delirium and loss. I just didn't know what the fuck was going on. Intentionally, I wanted that to happen because that's what I wanted from Insanity. Insanity, when it came to a visual standpoint, it was very bare bones, very nothing in the terms of detail. It was just the fences, the fog, the strobes, the sound. But, you know, where it lacked in the detail that something like the Asylum or the Grindhouse does, it made up for it in the psychological, visual, audio assault on you. Some people may say it's stupid because it's not really a haunted house. It's just a little maze with a little bit of fog, a little bit of strobe, a little bit of music. But if you go into it with the idea that you want to just let it take you over and throw you into this confused state where you're just wandering about aimlessly, kind of freaking out, getting worried, getting nervous, and just let it invade your mind and make you feel like this is hopeless, and walking around fast, strobes are blurring together with the fog, it ends up being really neat. And that actor at the end just topped it all off. It made me jump. And I was like, yes, that did it. And then, you know, you get out, and that's that. Mm-hmm. So I thought, I was most impressed by that one, because I've seen all these other haunts, and, you know, I had fun, of course. I just wasn't as, you know, impressed with everything, because I've seen a lot of it before, still enjoyed it. But to me, Insanity was really something unique and original, very psychological, which is my favorite form of horror, that eats at the mind. And I loved Insanity. It was probably my favorite this year, purely because, you know, but it's probably only something that is a one-time kind of deal as far as that feeling goes. The other ones, you know, you can't really mix up a layout of a maze. Well, you can, but you can't get that same effect that you had the first time. You know, maybe, but, you know, kind of not. Because it's definitely it's the same the whole way through as far as visuals go, but even like with something like Grindhouse, even if you have the same rooms and same props, but mix up how they all look in the order, it does feel different. But to me, Insanity it created the perfect feeling and perfect moment for me that I had wanted, at least once from the night. So that really, I really liked that. Nate?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was almost funny. As we were you know, waiting in line, we were almost, you know, joking the entire time. Oh, hey, they're having a rave in there, you know, look at the strobe lights. And honestly, I just thought it was strange as I was looking, and it really kind of just, I don't know, that part was strange for me. But
it was.
Yeah. See, I will, to be fair, I will say that I didn't like Insanity. I did not like Insanity, but I will say that I probably didn't get the full blast of it because I was kind of standing behind you the entire time. I was kind of following you a lot of the way. So I will submit that I didn't really get the full blast of it. But
I feel like maybe if you were in there alone or something.
Yeah, I think you need to actually navigate the maze yourself probably to get the full experience. But just as I'm listening to you talking about this right now, I almost, you know, you say you went through all these crazy psychological experiences, but I don't know. To me, it almost sounds like you kind of, in a way, you needed to create your own experience to make up for the lack of what there was. And I don't know. For me, just the whole thing, the techno. Okay, fine, the techno.
The techno was kind of silly.
I don't hate techno, but I felt like they could have played something different.
It was out of place.
It was way out of place. It was.
Yeah, it was. It literally felt like there was a rave going on in there.
I couldn't shake that, and I mean, and then it's just. You didn't have that feeling of isolation that you did in the other houses. There were other people trying to find their way through the maze with you.
The feeling of isolation in a lot of those houses was really wonderful.
We actually started like working with the other people around us. Like, hey, it's that way. No, it's not that way. It's that way.
I tried not to do that.
I did, but like I couldn't help but hear the people like, oh, it's not that way. And I'm like, okay, well, thanks.
But I would go down that way. Even if I saw people coming back being like, no, I would go down that way. Like, no, there has to be.
He intentionally like ran away from me, and I was like, what the fuck? Yes.
You know why? Because what I did in that regard, the Saw theme music, I pretended to put myself into the finale of a Saw movie, where, you know, anyone who's seen Saw, you know, you got the quick cuts going on, rapid, I get copyright for humming that. And I put myself in that trying to pretend I'm in, like, the ending of Saw 8 and there's some crazy shit going on, you know, and I had to get through the game, you know, I had to, because it was the rules, you know, I had to do that. But, so I put myself like I was in the movie, in the scene, as I would in the other houses. With the lack of detail, I created my own in the mind, and I feel like for a more creative-minded person who's willing to sort of think outside the box and not let the props set the scene for them, Insanity for me was great. But again,
yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good shot. They're probably decided to experiment, you know, because they probably figured, oh geez, we need some new houses. We've had the same year, so
yeah.
I think Insanity was more of a
Catacombs and Final Fear have been experimenting. Frightworld kind of has been stuck in the same
They've been stuck in a rut, yeah. I think this is kind of their first step into maybe exploring some new avenues, and I respect that, but this wasn't. Yeah, because wasn't it at all. Because
Catacombs this year, it's got the Returning Killers Theater, where it's got all the movie bad guys. It's got the Hell House, which is my favorite there, because it's like your haunted house kind of thing. They got like two massive zombie experiences called The Walking Undead, and then they have the Zombie Apocalypse Paintball, which is really neat. Final Fear does have, like, you know, Doll Evil, the Ghosts of Final Fear, which is your traditional really good haunted house. They have, I can't remember all of them offhand. They have, like, the Roadside Slaughterhouse, which is always fun. Did I say Doll Evil?
You did say Doll Evil.
And they have Chaos Continues in 3D, you know, meant to throw you off just orientate you. 3D houses are hit or miss, though. They tend to be but, you know, Final Fear, if anyone can do it, they can. They're interesting, they're good. They like to take it to the extreme. And I think they also have a zombie paintball kind of thing going on where you can shoot the zombies. And Final Fear also offers, which I'll hopefully address in a later video, is Stripped Identity. $6 extra gets you the 18+ haunt, where they handcuff you, put a bag over your head, and, you know, treat you like you're in some hostage torture situation. They're allowed to touch you and everything. It's not like that whatever house in San Diego,
McKaylee
Manor, whatever the fuck is, the 7-hour haunted house where they just do the most fucked up shit to you. This isn't like that. It's sort of like the most dire version of that you can. It's all within reason, all safe, you know, but it's meant to sort of really terrify you and put you in a feeling like that. I wish Catacombs would fucking say this year when they're doing Blackout. They did that last year and I didn't get to go. It's when they turned off all the lights in the house and you had to find your way through with just a glow stick. Oh, wow. It's pitch black. I didn't get to go. And people have been asking, when are you doing Blackout? And they haven't said, which is a shame. But, so basically those other haunts, those two other ones that aren't as well known, like Frightworld's been riding off a success from the time they were on the Travel Channel.
Yeah.
You know, they're really proud of that. The other haunts, really, they're not well known, but yet they're trying new things, which is neat. So that's probably why Frightworld put in something like Insanity. They were like, we need to create a more immersive, organic experience and give them something new. I'd rather, you know, they just totally start from scratch and make up new ideas.
I kept saying that. Like I always said, they need to have just for 1 year, they need to just not do it and then just work on making the houses better, you know?
Yeah, try something new. So, I mean,
bring back some more houses, have more than 5.
Yeah, we have good things to say about a lot of the houses. They have their good points, but the sort of overall thing is, you know, maybe it's our personal experience, but it's not scary. It is immersive, though. It is, you feel isolated, you feel immersed, which is really a big plus. You know, the sound, the visuals, you know, that's awesome. And there needed to be more actors, but their acting was good. It was great.
Oh,
you know, always in character.
Acting has always been good.
Yeah. But the houses just, there needs to be more variation. I felt, you know, just sort of year to year, it's the same deal. And, you know, we're probably not the typical audience for it, because a lot of people
we're really not.
A lot of people act like it's the scariest. They're like, "Yo, we're doing this! Oh my god, I don't want to die! I want to get murdered." So to them, you know, they probably won't even notice half the shit because they got their eyes closed. They're freaking out.
But for us,
they run through everything that gets here. For us, we go through it for the experience, and the experience is always just as good because it's impressive, it's immersive and isolationary. But, you know, there's, as good as that is, there's still the thought in the back of the mind, like, you know, come on, do something different. And so that's what, you know, if anyone's watching this, that could encourage in Frightworld. I doubt it, but, you know, try something different, try something new, and really give a real kick-ass experience. Because right now it's just sort of your typical haunted house. Insanity's trying to do something new, which is neat. But try branching out, try really get going somewhere where you haven't before, and try and work on this the best fear you can. And what really pissed me off, though, was last year when they said Condemned and Eerie State were all new. All new! They were not. One of them was just a rename, the other one was just a little bit of a rework. you know. And then the year before that was just all the same houses. So I do like that there has been some work put in that. Condemned became twice as big, and they did work on it a little bit. But there needs to be a little more difference and originality put into it. Something new, something unique. And that would be really great.
Like Carnival.
Yeah, like Carnival. That was cool. That's what put him on the map. That House of the Dead.
Yes.
But as far as that goes, I'm sure your typical kind of person, you'll enjoy Frightworld, or if you like us, you like the details, you like the immersion, you like all that stuff. It's still worth your time. Is it the scariest, biggest thing in Western New York? I don't fucking know. It's definitely not the scariest, that's for sure.
Sure, there's got to be scarier somewhere.
Yeah, and maybe it's just us, but whatever way. If you like haunted houses, it's a no-brainer. You should go. It's not bad by any means. This fucking sucks. You could tell the work that's put in there, and it really does pay off. But, and for people who aren't scared as easily, I'm sure it's absolutely terrifying. But, the work has paid off, but just some more originality, reworking, a complete start from scratch, something completely different all around would be great. But, any other final words from you?
No.
All right.
That's it.
That's kind of it. Wow, we ended up talking for almost an hour.
Almost an hour. That's great.
All right, sweet. Well, thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen, for all 1.5 of you that are still here. Someone didn't make it through Grindhouse.
Ugh.
So, we'll hit you up with more later on in the future. Maybe just me. He may join me with more Let's Plays, rants, food reviews, all that stuff in the future.
Awesome.
All right, I'm Kenshin.
I'm not Kenshin.
And we're peacing the fuck out. See you later.